I call Gareth Hughes.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. I rise to speak in support of the Members of Parliament Remuneration and Services Bill. Mr Speaker, I don't think there's anything that probably excites the talkback callers and gives the newspaper cartoonists more sort of creative ideas than MPs' remuneration and so-called perks. Mr Speaker, if we're going to have a public who has confidence in our Parliament and our elected representatives, it's critical we get this right. The Green Party believes we're a step in the right direction with this bill, and that's why we'll be supporting it. Obviously, it's something we've talked about for an awful long time in this Parliament. For 10 years or more, the Greens have been the ones championing a transparent regime when it comes to expenses, when it comes to travel, when it comes to pay, because it's not only the right thing, it's not only the reason which the public can have more confidence, but it's also the way that we can have we can make the right decisions in our daily lives. And we've seen it on the front page of the papers in New Zealand, around the world, particularly in the UK. It's critical we get this right. Transparency and sunlight is an important part of it. Ultimately, it comes down to your principles. And the Green Party's core principle is appropriate decision making. And when you see the cartoons of the pigs with their heads in the trough, it's obviously not appropriate to have those who are benefiting from the decisions being the ones making it. That's why for a long time we've called for an independent body to set our pay, also our travel and accommodation entitlements, so we can do our work. I like to say the Greens can quite proudly take a bit of credit for some of the movement we've seen in New Zealand. At the time of the superannuation scandals we saw in this Parliament, it was the Greens who voluntarily decided in 2009 to release publicly our expense accounts, and now Parliament has followed suit, which is a very positive step. So Materia Ture, back in around 2009, I think it was, actually put a motion to the Parliamentary Services Commission, which is part of the reason why we're here today. It was great to see the Law Commission's report in 2009, and what we see in this bill is some steps in the right direction. We see the so-called Chris Carter cause, the $10 maximum penalty per day for MPs absent without leave, finally be increased to a meaningful amount. We see the voluntary disclosure regime for MPs' travel and accommodation become statutory, and quite rightly we celebrate with other parties in Parliament new clause 17(1)(ab), where entitlements to services should be determined in a way that has regard to the particular requirements of any members in Parliament with physical or sensory impairments. Mr Speaker, it was a bit of a battle behind the scenes to get the appropriate services so Mojo Mathers could do her job as New Zealand's first profoundly deaf MP. It's unfortunate we had to push and we had to struggle to get there, but I'm glad that our Parliament has got there, and now we're doing the right things in terms of this legislation, in terms of, I'm sure we'll deal with it in the Standing Orders Review as well, doing the right thing, because any MP with an impairment, be it physical or sensory, should be able to represent their community, their electors in this Parliament. And what this Parliament shouldn't be doing is sending those Kiwis with perhaps those sensory or physical impairments that it's going to be harder for your party or your colleagues if you're in the House. So that's why we think it's important a strong message is sent. Their voices are valued in this House of Representatives, and it's great to see it in this legislation. Now, where we have difficulty with this legislation is the original proposal, both by the Law Commission and in the original first reading copy of the bill, was to have the travel and accommodation entitlements dealt with by the Remuneration Authority. We still believe that's the appropriate venue for this. We don't think it's appropriate to put that back on the Speaker's shoulders. Obviously, I think transparency and appropriate decision making is critical. That's why Materia Ture has an SOP in front of this House to try and ameliorate this. I think the arguments around MPs' travel to and from Wellington are spurious. Obviously MPs have to do it, but the core of the matter is who makes the decisions, who sets the rates. And instead of the Speaker of Parliament setting it, it should be an independent authority. It's critically important Parliament sorts out these issues so the public can have confidence in us, so we can have appropriate decision making. That's why I think we obviously need to have an independent body set our travel and accommodation. I think it's high time this Parliament and members of this House got rid of their voluntary personal travel perk. It is a perk. I voluntarily announced it when I entered this Parliament in 2009. What we need to do is make the Parliamentary Services Travel Expenses Official Information Act requestable and obviously we need to do a lot more to clean up the system. Kia ora.
Called Jamie Lee Ross.
I commend the bill to the House.
Members, the question is that the...
Stefan's going to...
Sorry, it's the members standing. No, my apology. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Members of Parliament, Remuneration and Services Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. Call on Government Order of the Day number 3.
Health and Safety, Pike River Implementation Bill, second reading.